Hi, everybody. I'm Eric Heyer from Olivet Lutheran Church, and over here is Pastor Kris Gordon from Olivet Lutheran Church, and we're trying a new podcast.
Gonna be fun.
Ta-da! We don't know exactly how this is going to go.
Yep.
We hope to put one out every couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and really to casually talk about the Bible
Mhm.
and how it impacts our life still today.
Yes. Want to look at all kinds of different things that we might be thinking about. How do I live this out? What does this mean, really? Where did it come from? And how am I supposed to interpret that as I look at my day to day?
Right.
Yeah. So we're gonna have a little fun with it. Yeah.
And since we are kicking it off during Holy Week,
Yeah.
and Kris, you have had the opportunity to travel to the Holy Land.
Yeah.
We thought, what a great way to kick it off by talking about your experience there.
Yeah. So here in Holy Week, I do in my heart and soul go back to that trip, which is 13, 14, I think 14 years ago now. And so many things about it were just really beautiful, wonderful, and filled with power. It's the interesting thing when you travel through the Holy Land. A lot of it's over commercialized.
Oh, it is.
Definitely.
Okay.
Which is okay. People are making a living. It's just fine. But you get to many of the sites and you go, I don't know if this was really the exact site of what they're saying it was.
Sure.
And some you go, yeah, this might not be exactly it, but you're close.
Okay.
Right. And some you go, yeah, this was it right here. And so you have all of these different kind of emotions when you go through that. I mean, some of it was like in the Sea of Galilee. I'm standing there. As soon as we got there, I'm rolling up my pants and I'm in the water.
You are, right.
I'm like, this is it, and wonderful. And right there on the beach, there's an overturned, abandoned little fishing boat, and I'm like, I'm taking this out. I'm going now. And it was,
Yeah, that's a sign.
yeah, exactly. Let's go. But you can stand there and look over this big lake and go, yeah, all the things that happened right around here, and it's wonderful. Now, so in Holy Week, really all of those events are happening in Jerusalem.
Okay.
And there are some parts of it again that are really, really powerful, and some you go, but there were a few that made a huge impact for me. Things like we did get up on top of the Temple Mount. That was the site of the ancient temple. It looks quite different now, the Dome of the Rock's there and the mosque is there. But you see that western wall, or what they call the Wailing Wall.
Right.
And we know that's what's left from what they would say the Second Temple period. But this is where it was. It would have stood somewhere in this big courtyard. And that's really amazing. So some of the pieces, though, that became really real and vibrant for me, let's start with the Palm Sunday piece, right? You come down the Mount of Olives, there's just this, it's this gorgeous mount, and then there's a valley, but you walk down and there's some different sites along there, and you can just see, yeah, this is the way you would have traveled from the little village of Bethany and then into Jerusalem. You would have come right through here. And then, of course, these kind of holy sites along the way, and there's coffee shop right here, because I'm sure, I'm sure before they headed in, donkey and everything, it's like, well, we might as well get jazzed up a little bit and head over.
Have our coffee.
Do it.
It's going to be a big parade.
Exactly. But you get down just from there, and you get into the Garden of Gethsemane, and it's that was powerful.
How big is that?
I'm not sure about exact acreage in that, but I would say it's about the size of an average park in Fargo.
Okay. Trees,
and things. Yep.
Okay.
Just a beautiful spot. But those trees are thousands of years old.
Oh, right.
So when you're looking around and you go, yeah, some of these trees were here when they came through on Palm Sunday, when they were here on that Thursday, and Jesus prayed in the garden and was arrested, and so that was pretty real. And then you stand in the garden, and you look west, and you go down into what is the Kidron Valley,
Okay.
and now it's highways and the traffic is immense and everything, but then you look up and there's the Temple Mount, and you see the Golden Gate, which would have been into the old city of Jerusalem, right into the Temple Mount, and it's still there. It's the same gate from 2,000 years ago.
Wow.
And you go, that is remarkable. So you can just see as Jesus would have been entering there, and you can see kind of a trail of switchbacks that go up because it's pretty steep to get up there.
Oh, okay.
And you can see this is what it would be like. But when you're on the Temple Mount, you can see the inside of where that Golden Gate stands, and you go, oh yeah, he would have come in and he would have been right there in the temple courtyards, and just 20
Right past the gate. I mean,
yeah,
it was there.
you come through the gate and you're right there.
Okay.
I mean, so the action is all happening there. It's the Passover festival, and I mean, you could just imagine the crowds and the kind of chaos around. And then just 20 yards or so away from the gate, you just go a little bit to the north, and there's the pool of Bethesda, or Bethsaida, as some would call it, where Jesus healed the man who was lame and for 38 years laying by this pool. And you go, wow, this is it. You're right here.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting and powerful is when you walk the Stations of the Cross. It's called the Via Dolorosa, the Way of Suffering, and which would start in Pilate's headquarters, which today don't look anything like they would have, but it was right there, right next to what they would call this Antonio Fortress, and you can see some of the remnants of that where that would have stood. And you go, okay, this is all right. And then you come out, and the road, it's really an alleyway, high walls all around, and it's not very wide. I mean, I don't know, 20, 30 feet wide. It's not big, and it's all lined with bazaars, vendors.
Oh.
But I imagine that's what it was like on busy streets in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago.
Well, and especially during that Passover, you've got, I'm sure, people coming in to do those things.
Everyone right there. But there were a couple things along the way. You go, the whole thing stretches from the trial with Pilate all the way to Golgotha and what's now called the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So you've got Golgotha, you've got what they call the Stone of Anointing, where they would have laid out his body to be anointed for burial, and then the tomb itself in the church. And we don't know if that's exactly the spot. Some will claim it is. Others even say that no, this wasn't the tomb, it was the garden tomb, which is maybe just a little north. But even there, you go, okay, if this isn't it, we're close.
Right.
This would have been where they would have, been on a road that would have been outside of the old city, where they would have crucified criminals. And so you're close. But there were a couple of those things along the way that were very striking to me. So you get out of Pilate's Praetorium, and you see what they call the Ecce Homo Arch, right? Where Pilate would have led Jesus out to the crowds and declared, "Behold the man," after he was flogged, which I'm not going to explain it, but it was horrible. It was terrible, terrible form of torture. Crown of thorns on his head, the whole deal, and then led to his own crucifixion. So that arch is there. You go, oh, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
And you go, and then just a few steps after that, it's almost nondescript when you're walking on the road. There's just this little building off to the side, and you go in and you go down probably 10 or 15 feet from the present day road, and there's scaffolding all over. You go, I don't know if this is construction zone or
Right.
whatever. But what they've discovered right there, they call it the stone pavement, and it's limestone cobbles that were the first century Roman road. That was the road he would have walked on.
Right there.
Right
The
there.
actual road.
That was
They built above it because
Right.
of progression
Right.
and things like that,
Yep.
but that is the actual
It's
road.
there, yeah. And you go, it is probable and very likely. I mean, Jesus walked these stones. He bled on these stones, and
Right.
that hit me. That was one of those remarkable moments where you go, okay, I'd always thought I don't need to go to the Holy Land
Mhm.
in order to have faith. My faith is not based on seeing them, but there was something powerful when you do see it, because you gain a little more understanding, and you get a visual of what this was like.
Right.
But that was a moment that was incredibly powerful for me, going, that was very real. Very real.
Did you reach down and touch?
No touching.
No
No
touching.
touching. No touching.
Okay.
And
So you weren't even walking on it. You were just observing.
right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could kind of walk. They had almost scaffolding, but metal, walkways that you could go around and just look at it.
Okay.
It was remarkable.
I bet.
It really was. And you know, then you get to go through all the rest of the stations along the way.
Mhm.
And you get to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and as I said, if this wasn't it, you're close.
Now, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, that's the church was built upon it, and
Right.
where they believe the tomb was.
Third
Is that right?
century, third
Okay.
century church, and where tradition has said this was Golgotha, this was that stone of anointing, and this was the tomb,
Okay.
which is inside the church.
Mm.
And so, I remember and looking into this rock that had, a kind of a square hole in it where they would have put, the upright for a cross. You go, wow, that feels real,
Mhm.
And then seeing that stone where they may have, laid out his body as, for the anointing before the burial, and then, it's this beautiful church and very ornate and all of the religious fineries and that kind of thing, which, of course, want to pay homage and that. But, you know, the tomb is right there in the middle. And you go, that was a tomb. And you can actually go in there. It's just a little, it looks like a little church within the church. And you go inside of it and you can see that stone where they would have laid a body in the tomb.
Wow.
And again, if that was or was not the actual spot,
It's
it's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And you can visualize it and see it. So the way they would bury, especially as it said, it's a rich man's tomb, so it would have been fully equipped for their types of burials, which you prepare the body in the linens and whatnot, and you lay it out in the tomb for a year or so. And then when decay has completed, then they come in and gather up all the bones, and they put them in called an ossuary, which literally means a bone box. And then that would be placed in a separate part of the, kind of a family tomb.
Oh, wow.
And so you can visualize this. But I remember, and just such a strange feeling. And someone took a picture of me as I exited that tomb, and the expression on my face was what I was feeling, which was just kind of nothing, a blank, a numb. It was just like, whoa, I don't know if this is for sure exactly it, but we're close, and it had to be something like that. those are those powerful moments where, you get to this time of year and I can be drawn right back there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it is a thing that can build us up in faith and go, these were real things. These things happened, and it makes an impact on my life today.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And with that, bringing that into our worship services and the planning that goes into that.
Yeah.
And as a pastoral staff and with Marlis, that's something that you try
Yeah.
as best you can
Yeah.
for us to experience
Yeah.
that. And it you going through that
Yeah.
adds another perspective to it of what can we do.
It does, because that's the thing about faith is, these were events that happened so long ago in a place far, far away. Wait, that's a different story.
Da, 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 da.
But you go, okay, so what does that mean? How is that real for me today?
Right.
And that's what we want to share together, that the story of those events it's real for today too. In as we look at the events of Holy Week, the teaching that Jesus did, the controversy, the trial, the betrayal, the crucifixion, and of course the resurrection, you go, these are things that are real for my life today. And I hope people will experience that as they come to worship this week.
I was going to ask you that as we get close to closing this first podcast, what would be one thing you would like us to take away from Holy Week, from starting with Palm Sunday, Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then the resurrection? What is your hope?
My hope for Holy Week, for the recalling of the events and what it means for us today, is I really, really pray that people will have a sense of that divine presence for them now. That all of these things took place not so that God could be God. It wasn't for God's sake that these things happened. It was for ours. You go, okay, there's death in this world. There's all kinds of things inside of us that experience a death-like thing. This is a God who cares about that. This God says, I've been there. I didn't sit in the corner of the universe and just, turn you loose on your own. I've been through it. I experienced it because I love you. And if people get that sense of this deep divine love for them, and they somehow have this this sense of that, that's what I really hope for this week and the times that we worship together.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you sitting down and talking, and
it's fun.
And
it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is our first podcast, and we hope to have many more. In fact, we hope to have so many that we can actually come up with a name.
Yeah, we've thrown out all kinds of names, and we don't have a good one yet. What was the one that you had? Oh, the fern thing that was taken, so we can't do that.
You can't do the ferns. Yeah.
So, it was. What was it? What did you say? Oh, a plant in the middle. I kind of like that.
A plant in the middle.
Or
that's very like NPR-ish.
Yeah.
Welcome to a plant in the middle.
It looks good.
Two dudes and a flower or a plant?
Yeah, between two dudes. And I don't. Well, maybe people could help us think of a name for this. I mean, what we want to do with this is really for young families, parents, others. We really want to have this connect with these things that, we've come up with all kinds of things that we want to talk about and maybe share along the way. But, okay, so what do we name it? So I don't know if whoever chooses the name gets free donut.
A free donut?
Free donut.
Let's up it. A free dozen donuts.
Oh,
well, dozen
even
Sandy's
better.
donuts.
Perfect.
That
would be wonderful.
I'll pay if you want.
That'd be wonderful.
I think the thing behind this, one of the things that we've talked about is that people who attend all of it love all of it.
Yeah.
And what we hope this will do is not only strengthen your connection with all of it, but also as a way to show others
Yeah.
what all of it and the
Yeah.
all of it family is all
Yeah.
about. So,
That's right.
if you like this and you're watching it on YouTube, like the YouTube
Yep.
video. Feel free to comment on it. If you're watching this from Facebook,
Yep.
like the post, share the
Share it.
post.
Yep.
This is just another way, like we've been talking about this Holy Week, to invite somebody to come in. This is another way that
Yeah.
you can be inviting.
Yeah. If we can nurture our faith together,
Mhm.
if we can learn a little bit along the way and be helpful for each other and then share it. I mean, I think that would be a great thing for this, and
Yeah.
that's what we hope to do.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks
Thank
for
you.
checking this out, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.